You're listening to Heroes in the Moment. What's up, heroes? I'm Michael.
And I'm Nathan.
And today we're reviewing Batman Capes Crusader.
Let's go. Come on, Michael.
Amazon's rendition of the Batman.
Yeah. It's Batman. Batman's not public domain yet, is it?
No, I wouldn't think so.
Amazon probably paid Warner Brothers, worked out a deal.
I'd say they worked out a deal to spread out, and probably so, Warner Brothers is needing money, and
Yeah, big time.
they probably made out a deal and was like, hey, you pay us X amount of money, you get the character for a couple of seasons, or for this run, for this project you're wanting to develop. And so that they worked it out, and they got Batman Caped Crusader.
Yeah.
And this was the first Batman animated series that we've had in a very long time. The last one was, I guess, Batman Brave and the Bold that aired on the Cartoon Network in the early 2000s. So it's been a bit since we've had a Batman animated show on the market. So it's really exciting to get it. But initial thoughts, initial takeaways from the show before we get into it and go episode by episode is, I'm going to be honest, I didn't necessarily love this series.
Yeah.
I mean, it had its great parts. It had its great moments, but it also had this moments where it felt like it fell flat.
Yeah, it feels very inconsistent. You know, the good is really good. The bad is really bad.
Yes.
And I don't think it helps either. I think we had kind of high expectations going in.
We did.
I mean, obviously we don't trust Rotten Tomatoes, but them slapping, 100% on it and everyone,
not
hyping
worthy
the show
of
up,
that. Not at all.
it didn't really help the show at all.
Right. Which IMDb, it averaged like a 7 every episode, I think, which is traditional, but made sense. And then it got like 1.8 or above, a couple of those, but which I could see for certain episodes. But yeah, like we were saying, it just feels like a lot of it was inconsistent. There was a lot of inconsistencies, a lot of stuff. It felt like what it was doing is trying to capture the aura of the original animated series from the 90s. Yeah. It felt very similar. It felt like almost like a Wish version of that, because they were trying to capture that, but they didn't.
They were trying to capture that really hard, but then also on the other side of that spectrum, they were trying to throw in new interpretations.
They were trying to change it
of
and
the
make
story
new
of the
interpretations.
characters. While also, I know, initially I think they, the CEO or whatever, they wanted a kind of continuation of Batman the animated series, and no, it will be similar at least. But then they change a good bit of stuff.
They do.
I guess for diversity, for reasons, for creativity reasons.
A lot of this dips into pros and cons, and we'll get to that here in a little bit. But yeah, like you said, they make a lot of changes to these characters and a lot of new, unique takes on characters we've known for a very long time. And the way that these characters were presented, the way that they did, some worked, others did not. Yeah. And we'll talk about that.
Across media, it's not like we haven't seen different versions of these characters,
It's completely different
comics and stuff. We'll see different takes on the characters, but sometimes you just remove something that's too essential. To a character.
Exactly. And they did that not once, but multiple times, which we'll get into with the very first episode. So let's talk about episode 1, In Treacherous Waters. And one thing about this series that I did think was kind of neat is that each episode is a different story. Yeah. Each episode is a standalone, different story, but they do each have the season has an overarching arc that all accumulates in the finale. The Harvey Dent plot in the storyline. It all accumulates and all kind of builds up into this final story. But each episode itself has a different villain, a different characters, and different stuff that plays into each one. But the first one, in Treacherous Waters, the villain was Penguin, with a new take on Penguin, making her a female. Yeah. And doing this new and unique story. And I enjoyed episode 1. I think it was a good episode. Yeah. But again, and the way that they did Penguin, if they would have changed it up a little bit, made it a little bit more make sense wise, then I wouldn't have had any problems. But to me, it just felt out of place in so many regions. It didn't feel like Penguin to me. It felt like a new character. Yeah. And I'm like, if you were trying to do a new character, why didn't you just create one?
Yeah, create a new one.
Penguin.
Listen, man, I'm with you 100% on that. I like what they did. I'm not saying that Penguin should be a woman, but I like the character in the show. You know what I'm saying? Like you said,
I feel like if it was a different character, it would have worked.
If it was a different character, it would have worked. I found her out of all the villains, I found her honestly to be the most menacing and threatening. I thought she stole a lot of scenes. I thought she was good. I thought the relationship with the two sons was kind of weird.
Really weird,
to be honest.
Yeah, because a lot of the times we talked about this, we watched the first 2 episodes together. A lot of the times we thought that one of the sons was going to become the real penguin, like the Oswald Cobblepot that we know, but that wasn't the case. He just murked one.
Dude, that scene was so funny.
Yeah,
he's like, no, it wasn't me. It was him. Yeah. And then she takes him and puts him in there, just throws him in the water.
Throws him in the water just to drown and die. And I thought that scene was cool. It made it menacing. It made it a cool and compelling, conspiracy that they were trying to figure out and solve this mystery in this case, but a lot of it just did not work for me when it comes to the way that they executed Penguin and the character. However, this episode the way that they did Batman from this episode on, I do really like. That's one thing this show had going for it, is the character of Batman.
Mm-hmm.
Batman was almost seamlessly amazing in every scene. Yeah, he was really great. Cool. He was the best part of this show. I mean, but the thing about it is the way that they did this show, almost doesn't feel like his show. Does that make sense? Because he almost feels like, and it's kind of a cool concept, but it disconnects a lot because yes, there's a lot of scenes that sit around him and his plot and stuff, but a lot of it centers around this other people trying to solve it with Batman just there in the shadows. Yeah. That's what a lot of the show was. Not every episode. I mean,
obviously there's a lot of, importance placed on Barbara, right?
Yes, there is.
And her father. And I think they do a good job with that. But like I said, it doesn't always feel like Batman's show.
Exactly. Like it feels like he's just in the shadows waiting to make his move, but these other characters are the one doing all the like, it's as if
like
it's
the heavy lifting.
They're the one in it's third person from Barbara Gordon and Commissioner Gordon and other characters' perspective, with Batman being a secondary character almost.
Yeah, he's kind of like the help, the relief.
Yeah, exactly.
Like after stuff already happens.
Exactly. Not every episode, but a lot of episodes it felt like that.
Yeah.
And that was just a bit of an interesting thing for me, getting into it. So let's get into episode 2. Now, this is one of the episodes I thought was really good. I think this is one of my favorites.
Yeah, I liked episode 2 a lot. Dang it.
Clayface was the villain.
That's right, Clayface.
Clayface is the villain. And I think I actually really enjoyed this interpretation of Clayface.
I think this episode stands alone the best.
I agree.
Out of all of them.
I 100%
like I said,
agree.
I love the darker take we have on Clayface.
Yeah.
And, and it's, I feel like, this storyline was not necessarily fed to you. You kind of had to slowly piece it together throughout the episode.
And that was one thing enjoying, is you got to be a detective along with Batman trying to solve this mystery. And this was the only episode that really felt like that, really, when this show was marketed as if every episode was going to be like this. Every episode was going to be us questioning and thinking and looking like as if we got a detective Batman.
Yeah.
And yes, he was a detective, but this was the only episode where we actually see him piecing the puzzle together. You know what I'm saying?
So that was
that was a lot of disconnect for me, but this episode was one of my favorites. I loved the interpretation of Clayface. I think they did a really great job, showing how he changed his faces. He killed people, and he did this for his own reasoning, just to make himself look better in Hollywood as an actor and stuff. I thought that was incredible.
It was really cool.
I thought that was a really compelling story. And we also got more with Barbara. And one thing I did like Barbara in the show, I think she was good. I think the way that they changed her a little bit from her comics counterpart, but I wasn't mad at it.
Yeah, I wasn't either. I liked it.
I liked Barbara. Yeah, I thought Barbara was a cool character. I was expecting her to come up as Batwoman at some point in the show, but maybe they're saving that for season 2 if that happens. But I did like Barbara, so that was cool to get a little bit more details with her. Kind of one thing the series did really well with is going back and forth between Batman solving the mystery and then Barbara solving the mystery. And I thought that was really cool, and this episode did it best, in my opinion. All right, then we got episode 3. What'd you think about episode 3?
Which one was 3 again?
Catwoman.
I wish we would have gotten more Cat.
Oh, no.
I think as an episode, it was really good. They really didn't make too many changes.
No.
With her character. And I like getting to see more insight into Bruce.
Right.
Right for this episode. You see a lot of the hurt from his parents passing. This is really kind of where you see that start. But, seeing her reasoning, how she was brought up, seeing how she provides and fends for herself, I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I agree. I thought this version of Catwoman was really good. I thought, the way that they did her was really, really well done. It made me want more. I was shocked she was only in one episode when she was marketed to be in more, I feel like, or at least a more of a present part of the show.
Yeah.
And her being the kind of main villain of this episode was like, I get it. They're trying to be similar to the animated series and having these standalone episodes about their individual characters. But I think she would have been a cool adage character for this show.
Yeah.
And I thought it was unfortunate that we didn't get a lot of her, but it was still cool to see her doing crime and stuff. My biggest problem was how quick she became Catwoman. Because I feel like, she just went to bed and then woke up one day, is like, I'm going to make a costume, and then became like a master thief.
It's like that scene in The Grinch, right? In the original animated one, where he just like makes a whole costume in like 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And now he's
Santa Claus.
Yeah, now he's Santa Claus.
And he's stealing stuff.
That just came to mind.
But I mean, she
really
created
quick.
a villain, and then now she's a master thief in the matter of, a couple of days.
Well, I think they imply that she was always a thief. She just didn't
True.
really step out and try to hide her identity before.
But I feel like the way that they did it, though, is like, yeah, she's always a thief, but they didn't play like she was an amateur at all. She was just like a pro. Yeah. But maybe that was their purpose.
It started with her interaction with Batman, right?
Yeah,
after
that
seeing
was cool. With Bruce. It started with her interaction with Bruce. She's like, I'm the only woman in Gotham you hadn't been with, or something. And I thought that was really cool and exploring the relationship. But I just wish they would have explored it more, because that's a crucial point of Batman, is him and Catwoman's relationship. So I would have liked that in this episode. All right, this next episode, I gotta say, may have been one of my least favorites, and that being episode 4, The Night of the Hunters. And this was the episode where the mayor has Gordon create a task force to try to catch Batman because of the things that were going on, and because of him beating up the corrupt detectives of Bullock and Flass. Him beating them up.
I loved, by the way.
Oh, so
I like Bullock and Flass,
dude. And the fact that Bullock is just, we'll talk about him in a minute. Yeah. But anyway, they charged them, and there's a task force with Detective Montoya.
Yeah.
As the kind of put in charge. What was it? Renee Montoya.
Renee, yeah.
And she was put in charge of this. And this is the whole thing where Bullock and Flash take the matters in their own hands and release Firebug, or Firefly is supposed to be represented, but he was called Firebug in this universe. But
Lame.
I didn't love this episode. I thought the way that it did Firefly or Firebug was really lame.
They did him dirty, man.
It could have been a lot cooler of a concept, but he was just not in it a lot, and then it was kind of robbed of it.
He's not the villain, obviously, of this episode. You start to see the true corruption from inside the GCPD.
And Bullock. That's one thing, is Bullock is in comics and media is depicted as either a corrupt one or a good cop. So it's just a matter of between the two.
Whereas in Gotham, he starts corrupted and becomes a hero.
Exactly, right? It's just a matter of like, you have two different thoughts. And then Flash was just, he sucked. I hated Flash.
You did?
Like, as a character, he's good, but like as a villain.
Yeah, they're the stereotypical bad guy.
Yep.
Duo.
Yep.
I don't know. I thought they're kind of funny.
They were funny and interesting, but they also made me, I was like, oh. But anyway,
yeah.
This episode was weak to me. I didn't think it captured Firefly very well. I thought the burning building sequence was cool, but it just really, all it did really was, this episode was portray what was going to happen in the future with them becoming more of a present thing in this task force, and projecting Gordon and trying to get rid of these corrupt cops, but he's getting set back 10 steps, and but I didn't love it. I mean, other thoughts?
I mean, I didn't love it either. Like you said, I think there's two kind of big things to take away from this episode. Obviously, number one is the corruption, and you see just how twisted and how much power Thorne has over the GCPD.
Yeah.
But number two, it was kind of just grounding Gordon's character, right? Yeah. Because according to the thing, he had grown up in this place, and he had a true heart and a passion for some of these poor people. So I think they were really trying to just hammer that home, that, hey, like, he is a really good guy, and that he truly cares for the people. Yeah. And as we saw, as he's rescuing the people, and he decides, Batman's not that bad.
Right. Right. I agree.
Yeah, it's all right.
All right. So the next episode 5, was The Stress of Her Regard, and this was the Harley Quinn episode. I mean,
a lot of thoughts on this one.
A lot of thoughts.
I can tell.
There's a lot of thoughts, I think, on both of our sides. They introduced Dr. Harleen Quinzel earlier in the show, but then here is where we finally see her as Harley Quinn. And to me, they completely changed her.
Yeah.
This is not Harley Quinn.
Yeah.
And they made her own villain. Like, instead of her being a supporting character to the villain or to Joker, and then later becoming, Suicide Squad, and, having all her details, she's her own villain. She's a therapist trying to get back at the corruptness of these rich billionaires in Gotham, trying to ruin the city, and trying to get back at them by mentally destroying them.
Yeah, but then also for a personal gain too, because she was, taking their money and stuff. So I feel like her her motivations were kind of weird. I mean, obviously she's a villain, but she's like, I want to stop corruption.
Yeah.
But at the same time, she's corrupting.
She's corrupted the villains. Yeah, exactly. She's corrupted, and I don't know.
I think this is kind of a similar case to Penguin, honestly, with this character in that I liked the character, but I didn't like,
See, that's my full thought. Character. Is I feel like if they would have created a new character that did this exact same thing and maybe dressed her a little bit differently and gave her a new name, then it would have been really cool, like a really cool villain that you could make and develop and stuff. But they made her Harley Quinn, and yes, you could still get her in a Joker plot later in the show, but it doesn't seem likely. It seems like they're trying to have her as her own villain, her own entity. And that's just not Harley Quinn.
They really kind of make her I guess, the reverse Harley Quinn. Because the Harley Quinn we know and love, like, she's more calm and reserved as the therapist. But then when she becomes Harley Quinn, like, she's maniacal. She's crazy. They kind of flip that here. Obviously, she's not crazy, but she is, more bubbly, right, as her therapist self. But when she becomes Harley Quinn, she is calm and cold and calculating.
Evil. Yeah. See, that's the thing.
She has full control over her body when she's Harley Quinn.
Because she felt more like Harley Quinn when she was being Dr. Harleen Quinzel.
Yeah.
When she was like, hey, Barbie, and all of that. Like, that felt like Harley Quinn. But her as dressed up as the villain of her, you're right. She's cold, calculated. She's serious.
And she also seemed like the most, like, mentally sane out of these villains. When she was Quinn, you're like, I'm not sure.
I know. So it just really... It had a lot of disconnect for me.
I just feel like that's something that's really hard to take away from a character. It's just like that sassiness and quirkiness and that, mental, like, instability. They completely removed that.
They did. And I feel like, again, if it would have been a different character, same kind of plot, but a different character, instead of making her Harley Quinn,
I liked it,
I did too. I agree.
I don't know how to word it. I like the character that they made, but... I don't like...
It's just not right. It doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
It's just not Harley Quinn that we know. Yeah. And then you could have those people arguing, well, you're not giving it a chance. This is a different take. This is a different universe. And I'm like, there's such a thing as a different take and a whole new character that they put the name on. Yeah. And that's what this is. So it's really confusing.
Yeah, like you said earlier, I mean, they just could have created a new character.
Right.
Obviously, they're not going to do that, in the first 10 episodes. But... I don't think they were very good at choosing their villains in the first 10 episodes.
I do too. All right, this next episode is episode 6, Night Ride, and this one has to do with the gentleman ghost being at large within the Gotham, stealing from the poor instead to the rich. The opposite.
The reverse Robin Hood.
Yeah. So this episode actually, it felt disconnected and felt different because it added a supernatural element to the show that we didn't have before. So it kind of took away a lot of that realism.
Also, you can tell they're trying to push a certain point.
Yeah.
If you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, they do. But I didn't necessarily dislike this episode. I thought it was intriguing. I liked
really
how they did Batman. I think this was another episode where he was like a detective trying to figure stuff out. And then I also enjoyed Pennyworth, as they call him in this show's role in it, which made me so mad every time. I was so glad at the end when he finally called him Alfred. But Pennyworth... And I enjoyed the relationship in this show and it developing like, oh, he's got some kind of a secret that he's keeping. And we also got some images in his past and all of that stuff. So I think that was cool. What'd you think?
Well, I like the part, at the end where he finally defeats him and burns the thing and not like proves himself because he's always taking care of him. But, he gets called Alfred after wondering so long, why is he calling him Pennyworth?
Yeah.
This really shows how their relationship had developed. I like the supernatural aspect. I think that's a cool thread for Batman. And I think it kind of put his detective skills first and foremost.
And
seeing him break in, steal documents. I really like the side character. What was his name? Who was dealing with the magic stuff?
Oh, Midnight.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, Midnight. Something Midnight.
Something like that. He was really cool.
He was cool. He reminded me of Dr. Faucia or whatever from Princess and the Frog, the villain.
Oh, yeah.
He reminded me of that. That's what he reminded me of.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But no, I thought this one was really cool. I liked the villain. I liked the detective side.
I liked getting this take because not a lot of people know about Gentleman Ghost. The only reason I know about him is from Brave and the Bold. So it's cool to see that and get a character that a lot of people aren't familiar with.
Stolen from the poor.
And people aren't going to be mad, changing a character you're not so familiar with. So it was, and I don't think they changed much. So it was a cool concept to see. So a really interesting episode. And we also got Lucius in this episode was really cool. Seeing Lucius Fox, and he being like Batman's lawyer kind of in this show, which was interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting take. But anyway, all right, this next episode, the moving target. And this episode was about an assassination attempt supposedly on Commissioner Gordon's life, but in reality, it was over Barbara.
Plot twist. I thought that was a cool twist at the end.
Yep, I did too.
Honestly, I thought it was gonna. I feel like the stakes should have been higher for this one. You're like, oh, you're trying to figure out where this thing came from. It came from Black Gate, and at the end, you figured like it's just some disgruntled dude who wasn't grateful.
Yeah,
that he was in jail. Because she was the lawyer.
Yeah.
It feels so dumb.
It does. I mean, it was cool, like them running away, getting like a shelter, like a safe house, and trying to do all this. And then Onomatopoeia was cool. He was so cool in this episode. Like just Onomatopoeia. If you're not familiar with Onomatopoeia, he was the guy with the mask and the target on his face, and the one who only spoke in sounds. He's like pew pew or whatever. That was funny, but he was so cool. Like he's onomatopoeia, and I thought that was cool. And them running and doing the Batman trying to figure out where they are and how to help them was cool. Yeah, but like you said, it felt a little bit like this was unnecessary.
I like the twist at the end, seeing the guy like try to kill her. That she was with the whole time.
Right, that
was really cool.
Supposedly loyal. Yeah.
This episode just goes to show like just how cool of a character Barbara is. She's defending for herself, driving the car.
She pulled out the gun.
Yeah, pulling out the gun, shooting people, killing people. Like,
no fear.
I thought she was really cool.
And the fact that Gordon told her to, like, he didn't be like, go hide in the bedroom, get under bed or something.
He's like, grab the gun, go to
the back. Like, he trusted her, so that was cool. That was cool.
So I like this one a lot, but I mean, ultimately, when I think of like hits or something like that, I think of the Arkham game Origins.
Yeah.
Right? Or something like that. I just feel like it felt kind of weak in that department. Like, the writing just felt weak. Like, you had your bad guy, who I don't even know what his name is anymore, send out a hit because you were mad that your lawyer didn't get enough job.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's just really weird.
Felt weak. But I like the twist at the end and then the other twist, but,
sure.
Wasn't bad.
Sure. All right, this next episode, Nocturne, where they're at this carnival event, and we get these Easter egg robins throughout the episode. I didn't love this episode.
This one was definitely weird. Who is Natalia? Who is this girl?
So she's Nocturna, is her comic counterpart.
Okay.
So Nocturna, villain, she kind of sucks the souls out of people, gets strength for herself. So again, bringing in that supernaturalness to this show that shouldn't have necessarily been supernatural, but so I don't know. It was cool seeing the Robins, and like that they're very much Easter eggs that they're Robins. You had Dickie, who's clearly Dick Grayson. You had Jace, who's clearly Jason Todd, and then Cassie, who's clearly what her name, the girl Robin, Cassie Kane.
I'm blanking.
Cassandra Kane. You had her. And you had just, some other stuff and, Easter eggs that, that they're Robins. And that was cool. But it was also like, okay, so Dick Grayson is the same age or a little bit like 2 years older than Jason Todd. That doesn't make sense. Or, that he should be the same age as Barbara. And, it's just a lot of it's just different from the comics and stuff, which is a different take. You have to admit. But and the fact that that's where they kind of come in. It's just kind of these children Easter eggs, and then she's kind of coming around and sucking their souls. I don't know. I didn't love it.
I wasn't a huge fan of the plot. I mean, this whole plot it feels secondary to what they're doing with Harvey. Because the whole thing, the carnival's there is
the Harvey campaign.
He's trying to raise his polls. And, Thorne's involved. I didn't. Like I said, I didn't love this episode. I didn't love what they did with the kids or the villain essentially.
Yeah.
I thought what's her face Tompkins or whoever was running the thing with the kids I thought she was a cool character. I think he did a good job showing off Bruce Wayne and Batman in this episode. But no, it wasn't by any means my favorite. No. I don't know. It was just kind of boring.
Yeah, that's how I felt exactly. But the cool thing at the end of this episode is we see Harvey Dent get splattered with acid as the episode cuts to black. So that was the one part you're like, that's exciting. Getting us hyped for what the season's been building to this entire time. And that brings us to episode 9, my personal favorite episode, The Killer Inside Me. I personally love what they did with Harvey Dent's character. I think he was the best part of the show, if I'm being honest, besides Batman.
Yeah.
I think Harvey Dent was a great build, how they did him. He's this, DA. He's really popular. He's this very charismatic dude and running for mayor. And then he's getting down on his luck, but then he's trying to raise the polls. And then he gets in with the wrong crowd, wrong people.
Just to start to raise his polls, right?
As just happening. And then gets half his face melted off. And then he becomes, in this episode, he fully becomes the villain we know as Two-Face. And I loved this rendition of Two-Face. I thought this character's, how they did it was great.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, the fact that, he's got this schizophrenic mind, he's like, on one side, he's like, we got to go kill these people for what they did to us. And he's got this, it's like, no, this is not me. And I thought they did that well. And whoever voice acted for Harvey Dent was really impressive. Did a great job. I just really love this episode. Him going on a killing spree, becoming Two-Face, the villain, and Batman being like, oh, this is Harvey Dent. He was trying to be his friend, but realizing he's become this villain. I don't know. What'd you think?
I thought I really loved it. I thought his transformation was cool. I was a little put off, honestly, by how he becomes like the Punisher with fighting the gun. Like he's taking out like 5-6 criminals at a time. I'm like, where did this come from? At the same time too. But I don't know. I didn't fully get his transformation. I don't understand why he became like kind of schizophrenic. You know what I'm saying? Like he was always kind of, mentally well, and then he has acid throw on, and then he's like, you know what I'm saying? Because his personality, evil was taken over.
That's kind of always how the character of Two-Face kind of goes. He's got these two personalities, and the evil one takes over most of the time.
But I mean, like, at least in those projects, I feel like they show like the coin flipping and deciding on chance a lot more, which has to do with that. I didn't feel like they played into that with this character this time.
See, I feel like this story was very similar to Harvey Dent's and The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
I think it was very similar because it was a very similar plot, except for the whole Rachel thing, which kind of made him the villain.
In Dark Knight, he wasn't bending to the criminals.
True,
though.
he wasn't.
He was like straight.
He was as straight as arrow, and then he became, evil in the end.
Yeah.
But it's just a matter of thoughts and how it goes. But I love this episode and just seeing what he do. I thought it was cool, like when he burned the dude alive, and he was just like, he's like, I don't want to kill you, but he does, and I thought that was just so cool. In doing that. And then episode 10 was Savage Night, and this was the finale where Barbara and Batman are trying to keep Harvey Dent safe from these villains that are trying to kill him. Spoiler alert, they do not succeed. I was shocked they killed off Two-Face.
Yeah.
Like, just when he became a villain, I'm like, they Dark Knight him.
They also killed off Firefly. So.
Yeah, they did do that. But it's Two-Face. They just introduced him, and now he's killed off, which they kind of did that with Dark Knight.
The weirdest part is that Barbara, she handcuffs herself to him, and then like he doesn't get a gun or anything. When like the last 2 episodes, he's demonstrated that like he's as powerful as Batman.
Yeah, he
just goes he goes to Thorne's house and he wipes out everybody. You're like, dude, who is this guy? You know what I'm saying?
He's him.
He throws a piano down a flight of stairs. You're like, oh my goodness. I didn't love this finale, to be honest.
I didn't necessarily love it. I didn't dislike it, but it almost felt like they've been building up, and the main villains of this season 1 were Flash and Bullock. And I didn't like that.
I know.
They're the main villains of this entire season. And I'm like, the reality was the main villain was the corruption of Gotham and the corruption of the police and all of those factors going into the high patriarchs, and they were the faces, but still.
But they're not like threatening or intimidating.
Not at all. And they played it off as if they were the villains the first season, and I didn't like that at all.
You have like this huge boat, dock scene with all these clouds.
Yeah.
And you're like, I don't know, man. It just doesn't feel super authentic.
It doesn't. So I agree. I didn't love or take to this episode, and making Flash and Bullock the villains just did not sit
kill
well.
off Harvey Dent.
They kill off Harvey Dent. Maybe they can bring him back, or maybe he didn't actually die. I don't know.
Which is weird because like they were just getting to him. Like
I know.
He's already become
Two-Face. They had his build up,
and now like they're bringing him.
You just
back.
give him the one episode 9 as a full on Two-Face and really cool. And then you kill him. I didn't love that. So I don't know. And then the episode ends with a hint towards the future, with where we see people dying of laughing from this laughing injections somehow. And then I got taken out because I heard a serious voice.
Yeah, a really serious, mentally stable voice.
A really serious, that one works, or something like that. And I'm like, and then it's clearly supposed to be Joker, because you see the white and you see the,
but that's not really Joker.
But that's not Joker.
I know.
And I'm like, that made me mad.
That made me mad too.
I was like, that's not my Joker. That's
made me mad.
Like the laughing I heard, I was getting hype. I was like, okay, this is our Joker. And then we find out the guy who was laughing died, and he's like, I did it. I figured it out. And I was like, what?
I know.
That's not Joker. That's serious Joker. We don't want serious Joker.
I can't remember the last time I saw a serious Joker.
it's just I didn't like that.
That's
So apparently they're setting him up for season 2, and I don't know what's their fetish with always setting up Joker. I don't know, like they just because they know he's the best, but they set him up.
Maybe people will watch the season 2 if we
Joker's
dangle this guy out here.
I know. So did not love that, but now let's go in our pros and cons. You want to start us off?
Yeah, my first pro, I think the time period worked really well. Kind of have my doubts. It's 40s, 50s. We'll see how this works. I thought it worked really well. I thought they pulled it off. It was cool, kind of seeing that different perspective, seeing them use like all the physical, like, the phones where you got to turn the dial. I thought it was cool. I don't know, kind of stripping away all the electronic gadgets I thought played into Batman a lot, and I like seeing that side of him.
I agree. I thought that was cool. My first pro is the animation. I loved the animation of this show. I mean, it was very similar to the original Batman anime series animation, but I just thought the animation was so cool, like the black and white style almost, and the way it was pictured. It felt like I was watching a cartoon in the 90s as to current modern day.
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool. I loved that. And also to piggyback off what you said, the 40s vibes were really cool.
Yeah, it felt cool.
It was really cool. The mystery aspects paired with the 40s, I just, you can't help but deny. But the animation itself was my first pro.
Yeah, I'm with you. I love the art style. I think the voice acting was really good too. Like you said earlier, specifically with Harvey. I like Batman and Alfred's a lot too. I thought they casted really well.
Yeah, so I did too. Batman specifically, they did really well with.
Yeah, he was really cool.
My next pro is Harvey Dent. His character was just amazing, and his transition to Two-Face was just really cool to me. I loved how they built it up this season to him, and his character was just really cool. And along with that, I liked the episode styles where there was one story, but with building blocks of different stories to get to one outcome. I thought that was cool. It was unique. It wasn't, traditional. It was instead you take away certain aspects of episodes, and then each episode does the same thing to where it accumulates to one finale. Yeah. Which the finale was a little bit of a letdown, but still I like the way that it did that. So that's my next pro.
Yeah. I also had Harvey Dent in his storyline, as a pro. My last pro I had was I liked their take on Barbara Gordon. I thought they wrote her really well. I thought she just came across as like a natural, like really cool character. Seeing how she can handle herself, I think it definitely leaves the door open to her becoming Batwoman later down the line. But I liked her. I liked how they did her relationship with Jim. I thought that was really cool. And
old Jim, love Jim. Jim was cool.
He was really cool.
He was cool in the show. My final pro is just the way that they did Batman. I do think that the way that they did Batman, I love the suit. I loved him as a character. I thought his voice act work was great, and it felt like Batman. It really genuinely felt like Batman, even though the rest of the show didn't necessarily feel like the characters. It felt like they left Batman alone. They didn't change him. Yeah. And I appreciated that. So that's my final pro.
We got like just as much Bruce Wayne as we did Batman.
I did like that.
And I think I liked his Bruce Wayne better.
His Bruce Wayne was so cool because it was so funny seeing him being like, oh, I'm just, I'm this billionaire. Oh, whatever. And then as soon as he gets in the car, he's like, drive.
I love the part in the carnival episode where he gets like the snot beat out of him when he's Bruce Wayne, and then he instantly goes back, puts on his Batman thing, and just like beats up the croc.
That's one thing I loved is the fact like this show did a really good job of showing how Bruce Wayne is his alternate. He is Batman.
Yeah,
and Bruce Wayne is just a tool.
His alter ego.
Yeah, Bruce Wayne's the alter ego. That's what I was looking for. Not Batman. So I thought that was cool that every time you get back in the car with Alfred, he's like, all right, Pennyworth Drive. I got to think about this. Dr. Quinzel can be trusted or whatever.
Seeing him in therapy was really funny, man.
He was just like, hey, what do you see and stuff. But, it was
she's just going at him.
All right, now we're on to our cons. Do you want to start or do you want me to?
Yeah, I'll start. I didn't love the episode format. When it was first introduced, I was like, oh, goody, they're going to introduce a big villain every single episode, and I assume, have a storyline that ties it all together. And I think it kind of falls flat from the first episode. Like I said, I liked the villain character, probably as a separate character. Yeah. But also, I didn't love the changes there. But the first episode felt weirdly like a finale, and she's just pulling out these nuclear missiles and just bombing God. It was just very weird.
Yeah.
And it went strong with the next one with Clayface and continued on. But, they falter when it comes to Firefly. They write him weird and Harley. And then like the last 2 or 3 episodes, they really don't introduce like the villains right anymore like that. I think it'd be a lot better if in that first season they had a pretty big villain for each of the singular episodes while also having that Harvey Dent storyline.
Yeah.
And then obviously them changing that didn't help anything. But I don't know, just the episode format. I mean, I didn't love that standalone one because then the sucky standalone ones were not good at all.
Yeah.
It's hard to stay connected.
Right. All right. My first con is I have it as a pro, the 40s style. But my con was with that is I wish it fell more in line with the 40s style. For example, they were tackling modern stories as if it was the 1940s. And in my opinion, I would have rather had stories from the old original Detective Comics actually from the 40s than these newer, more modern stories that they developed to try to make it in the 40s. See, okay. I didn't love that because I feel like there were so many storylines that they did that didn't necessarily feel like they belonged in the 40s. Some were really cool, like the Onomatopoeia story, the Penguin story made sense. Clayface made sense, but like Gentleman Ghost didn't fit. I don't think necessarily. Yeah. I don't think the whole Nocturna thing fit. I don't think even some of the Two-Face stuff didn't necessarily fit, and that kind of just was a big con for me. Because I would have liked to have seen, like, I have the original comic poster. I would have liked to have seen that more, utilized in that kind of style and that kind of storylines as to these storylines. So
no, I see what you're saying. I think this is my last con, but obviously, I don't know why they decided to do what they did, but just changing these characters' defining characteristics. I pretty much they didn't execute any of them very well. I feel like maybe except for Onomatopoeia. Maybe the Ghost, and then definitely Clayface. But with Penguin, with the sex change and the whole relationship with the sons, it just doesn't work. My opinion. I love Firefly as a character, but they did him so dirty. Like you said, I mean, obviously he's not even the main villain of that episode. With Floyd Lawton, he's barely in it, but he's the first assassin who tries to kill Barbara. You telling me this is Deadshot, but he's missing.
Yeah.
Or he gets shot and killed. You're like, what? Why would you throw in Deadshot to have him instantly killed like that? He's instantly shot down by a guy who's also working the same contract.
Yeah.
Kind of weird, man.
It was just a lot of unfortunate stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously with I thought Alfred was mostly the same, but just the whole Pennyworth thing, and they changed his image a little bit. I didn't love it as much. He didn't look like a classic Alfred, at least in my opinion, even though he acted like it. And then the biggest thing was Joker. Like you said earlier, just looking in at the end, man. Like clearly he's serious. He's got like a really deep voice. Joker's one of the best villains of all time, and you're gonna take away like his maniacal self, his laughter. Like I said, we've only seen 2 or 3 seconds of him, but that clearly was not Joker. So that definitely hurts to see.
Yep.
I
agree.
I don't know. Maybe it's Amazon being like, our characters are different.
My biggest thing is, don't fix what's not broke.
Yeah, exactly.
And they did that in this entire show. And that's my final con. It was so different from traditional Batman stories that I just cannot see past it.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried to be like, okay, well, it's a new perspective, whatever. But no, I mean, these are characters we've known for a long time. And if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Like we
Come
just
on
said,
now, Michael.
Joker isn't broke. He's the best villain, one of the best villains ever written. And you're trying to change him. Harley Quinn, make it a different villain. Yeah. Don't change her completely into a different character. Penguin, same way. The only one they really did right that was traditional was Two-Face, Gentleman Ghost, and that was really the only 2 ones. Firefly, they changed way too much, and just there's just a lot of stuff that they didn't need to change that they did for their own creative reasons. I understand, but it just didn't work in my own opinion.
Yeah, I'm with you.
All right, so now let's get down to brass tacks. What are we gonna rate it out of 10?
Oh man, Michael, I had a number in my head, but the more we've talked about it, I just see it dropping. Right now.
I'll start. I think you started last time. Yeah. I'll start. I think I'm gonna give it a solid 6 out of 10. Is where I'm gonna go. I was thinking, maybe 6.5, but I couldn't do that. I think 6 is where it belongs. I can't go any higher. I couldn't go 7. I couldn't do that just because of such the inconsistencies and just being so different from the traditional Batman that I know and love. I just didn't appreciate a lot of those changes. So, but it had a lot of good qualities. It had a lot of good episodes, a lot of entertaining spots that I could see past. But for the most part, I think 6 out of 10 is fair.
Yeah. Ooh. It's definitely not a 7. I'll tell you that right now.
No.
I think I'm gonna agree with you here on the 6. It's just disappointing. I had expectations going in. I think it's kind of funny, seeing a new take right on some of these characters, and it turns out kind of terribly. But at the same time, we have characters like Arthur Fleck's Joker, right?
Yeah.
Joaquin Phoenix, and that's completely different. Almost like he's not even Joker, right? He's like a what's that one movie? A Taxi Driver, just like spin off. Right, he's not him. Harley Quinn is Lady. She's not Lady Gaga as Harley Quinn. It's not Harley Quinn, but those movies do so well, and people flock to him.
Yeah.
So I'm saying, I think it's kind of weird at the same time,
right?
Because we've seen different iterations of the characters, but everything I've seen,
I feel
online
like it also has to be paired with really good writing and make sense.
Yeah.
This Caped Crusader show felt like a different universe on purpose, and that's not what you should go for.
Yeah.
You shouldn't create in the show, okay, this is not Batman. This is a different Batman, a different universe with different characters and different stories, but they have the same names. No, they should have tackled it like, okay, let's just do the story. Let's do this dang thing. This is our animated show, but I don't feel like they did. So that's a big thing.
But like I said, I don't know why, but they tried to do way too much, and it just falls flat. Because like you said, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Don't fix it. That's it.
6 out of 10. I
6
think that's
out of 10
fair.
across the board. So the official hero score 6 out of 10.
I wonder how many more seasons we're gonna get. Obviously, a season 2. I would assume.
I'm gonna say we'll get a season 2, but it'll be canceled after that.
Yeah,
maybe
that's Joker will probably bring back some fans, but I think they'll see.
But I think it'll get a season 2, but I think after that it won't make it. I really do.
Yeah, I don't think that's too far out. All right, guys, thank y'all so much for listening to this episode. And as always, if you liked it, please let us know by giving us a download and a 5-star review wherever you listen to your podcast. We have a new feature on our episodes. We can send us a text message by following the link at the bottom of our episodes. You can submit your questions for Heroes Q&A there, or you can just shoot us a DM on Instagram. And speaking of, be sure to check out our Instagram stories weekly for a chance to ask questions that we'll use for our Q&A segments. Also, if you want exclusive access to premium episodes, which includes movie reviews and other things, subscribe to our new membership, Heroes HQ. And then finally, feel free to also check out our YouTube channel and Instagram, Heroes in the Moment.
And we just want to thank y'all for listening. And as always, we love you 3000.